Well, something happened yesterday that caught my attention. It was actually a tweet that was put out from Donald J. Trump, actually over on Truth Social. And now people are like capturing what he says on Truth Social and then moving it over to X, I guess. The tweet's not even a word. It's a post now on X.com that was originally Truth on Truth. And this is what it said. Donald J. Trump wrote, "I got a call from a very good guy and friend of mine, Kid Rock, asking me whether or not it would be possible for me to meet in the White House with Bill Maher." Now, some of you guys would know Bill Maher. He's like extreme, in my opinion, left wing, at least for the past 20 years. But it seems like, from my perspective, in about the past, I don't know what I would call it. Maybe it's been the past 6 months, he's becoming like a voice of reason and moderation, believe it or not. I personally can't believe what I've been seeing come out of him because he's been sticking up for Trump. And prior to the election, it was like he had the biggest Trump derangement syndrome out of anybody that I'd ever seen. I'm like, man, this guy has an axe to grind against Trump, and he's going to stop at nothing to even facilitate an honest look at what reality is. Well, something's happened along the way. I don't know if his ratings on his show or if he had good guests that actually spoke wisdom to him. But in my opinion, Bill Maher has kind of come over to the center. So he's still a liberal. He's still a Democrat. He's still progressive in some ideologies, but he's actually leaning on a conservative approach on a few topics that have really surprised me. And his angst towards Trump has actually delineated a little bit. And so Trump writes this, Kid Rock calls Trump and says, Bill Maher, a man who's been unjustifiably critical of anything or anyone, Trump. He said, "I didn't like the idea much and I don't like it now, but I thought it would be interesting. The problem is, no matter how much he likes your favorite president, me." I mean, Donald Trump is a comedian. He's talking about himself. He will publicly proclaim what a terrible guy I am, etc. Very much like the Democrats at my recent address to the joint session of Congress, which was the State of the Union address, where the Democrats went in with silent protest signs. They didn't even clap for the kid that had the brain tumor that was healed, that they awarded honorary Secret Service member. I mean, if there's anything that you can clap over, it's somebody receiving life-saving treatment that actually propelled them to being able to be at the State of the Union address. It's like a moment of American innovation that everybody should get behind. And the Democrats couldn't even clap for that, along with 3 or 4 other things that no matter what side of the aisle you are on, just give it a clap. I mean, these are good things for Americans, and it just didn't happen. So, Donald Trump's making the point here. Can I trust Bill Maher? Because at every single joint session of Congress or anything, the Democrats, he says, wouldn't stand, wouldn't applaud, wouldn't smile, wouldn't laugh, and certainly they wouldn't be in any way nice. Then he said this, "Who knows, though? Maybe I will be proven wrong. In any event, I'm doing a favor for a friend. I look forward to meeting with Bill Maher, Kid Rock, and I believe the legendary Dana White will be present. It might be fun or it might not be, but you will be the first to know." Don't you love a president who's keeping us in the loop of what is going on? And put a 1 in the chat if you're watching and you say, you know what? I think Bill Maher should be allowed in the White House. Or put a 2 if you're like, no way, get that guy out of the White House. He does not belong. Today, Kid Rock was in the White House. And I want to kind of show that to you. I don't know. A lot of people like Kid Rock. I personally don't know much of his music, but picture this. It's late afternoon. A gold curtained backdrop frames an unlikely scene. A straight talking rock star in a red leather jacket, it looks like to me. I don't know. Is he wearing a red leather jacket? Some kind of get up. Leans over the resolute desk, shares a laugh with the president. Off to the side, maybe Bill Maher's waiting in the wings, famous for his liberal critiques, nodding thoughtfully. I don't know if he's there right now or not. I didn't see him in the footage, but he might be. Maybe he's meeting a little bit later. It sounds like a setup to a punchline, especially if the guy from the UFC is there. A musician, a comedian, and a fight promoter walk into the White House. Kind of sounds like a joke. Well, according to that tweet, maybe it happened today. Kid Rock, the renegade rocker turned political influencer, walked into the Oval Office on a mission. And, I don't think he came to the White House today for a photo op or a concert performance. It felt like Kid Rock was coming in today as a patriot with a purpose. He has that sort of like signature swagger, kind of the all-American fervor. He's a multi-platinum rock star, and he arrived to lend his voice to the White House for an initiative that's close to his heart. And I actually agree with this as somebody who lives in Music City in Nashville. He came in for ticket fee reform. And for years, concert goers have been gouged by outrageous convenience charges, scalpers at the side of the road, driving prices higher, people now in our digital age that are actually buying up tickets as soon as they go on sale and then reselling them for thousands of dollars. I saw a ticket for the Final Four. It was $25,000 for a ticket to the Final Four basketball games that are going on I think it's in San Antonio. I mean, that's absolutely crazy. So this is an issue that angers fans on both sides of the political spectrum. It doesn't really matter. And so earlier today in the Oval Office, there was a candid talk about fairness, about accountability in the live events industry. Kid Rock, his real name was Robert Ritchie, has long been vocal about standing up for the little guy, and he carried that banner straight into the heart of Washington. He joined administration officials in decrying how big ticketing corporate events have turned a night out to see your favorite band into an expensive headache, from hidden service fees to monopolistic control of venues, even the parking. In my opinion, you might as well figure an extra $50 just to park at these events. And so the ticketing industry's bad practices have united Americans in frustration, and Kid Rock, of all people, is determined to fix it. Have any of you dealt with this issue, the ticket issue, maybe where you live? For me, it's a big deal. I love going to concerts. I love going to shows, but they do have so many extra fees that they hide. And I hate that. By the way, Amy Heights, Linda Carlino, Jennifer Swain, thank you so much for those amazing super stickers. And this, by the way, this isn't the first time that the cowboy-hatted rock star's taken on the ticket titans. He's built actually a reputation for putting his fans first. You might remember back in 2013, he made headlines by slashing all of his concert tickets to just $20. He insisted that at his concerts, there'd be no hidden fees, no gimmicks, even if it meant that the people that are playing on stage, would take a pay cut. And that kind of commitment actually earned him rare credibility in an era when many celebrities talk a big game but won't sacrifice a dime. So when Kid Rock spoke up about ticket reform today, it wasn't just talk. He has over a decade's worth of track experience to back it up, of a good track record. In the Oval Office meeting today, he passionately argued that music and sports fans deserve transparency and deserve fairness. He pointed out that Live Nation and its Ticketmaster subsidiary control, did you guys know this, about 80% of major venue ticket sales? So there's basically two corporations that are owned by the same organization that actually control 80% of all tickets that are sold in America. And if you don't think that that's wrong, it's definitely a virtual monopoly. It squeezes out competition. It leaves people like me and you, the average everyday American who wants to go see a concert, see a show, go to a basketball or hockey game. It leaves us with having to pay a sky-high price, which is wrong. So, he's there. He's flanked by economic advisors, policy aides. He starts hammering home stories of fans that are being led to pay outrageous fees like $40 and tacked on charges to a $100 ticket, and how fed up the fans are about that. And according to those in the room, Kid Rock didn't shy away from bluntly warning the industry bigwigs, basically saying, shape up or face the consequences. He even vowed to open a can of you-know-what on those who exploit the public's love of music, which is, it's a vivid promise, but a group, people in the room laugh because you're like, you're in the White House. I don't know if you should be quoting that, which is, I think, from, Waterboy. Have you ever seen that show, Waterboy? Rebecca Heck says Kid Rock changed from lyrics about waking to cocaine on his nightstand to breaking out in gospel songs at random restaurants. Hey, you're right about that. I didn't think about that. He had that song that says, living my life in a slow, that song. And then, we saw that picture where he's dancing with Tucker Carlson and a priest, right? In a restaurant. So very interesting. Let's tune in. Let's listen to what they're saying.
Bob, you want to say something?
Yeah, anybody it doesn't matter your politics. First off, thank you, Mr. President, because this has happened at lightning speed. I know you I want to make sure Alina Habba gets her credit too, because I know she worked very hard on this, but thank you for making this happen so quick. Anyone who's bought a concert ticket in the last decade, maybe 20 years, no matter what your politics are, knows it is a conundrum. You buy a ticket for $100. By the time you check out, it's 170. You don't know what you can charge for it. But more importantly, these bots, they come in to get all the good tickets to your favorite shows you want to go to, and then they're relisted immediately for sometimes a 400% or 500% markup. And the artists don't see any of that money. And, ultimately, I think this is a great first step. I would love down the road if there'd be some legislation that we could actually put a cap on the resale of tickets. And I'm a capitalist and a deregulation guy, but they've tried this in some places in Europe, and it seems to be the only thing that's us as artists be able to get the tickets into the hands of the fans at the prices we set. I'll be the first one to say, and I know the president doesn't like when I say this, but I'm a little overpaid right now. It's kind of ridiculous. I would rather be, a hero to the working class people and have them be able to come attend my shows and give them a fair ticket price. I can't control that right now. So hopefully this is a step to really be able to make that happen. I know a lot of artists and a lot of fans who love concerts and music are going to be very appreciative of you taking this
And I
action,
think
sir.
Bob is more interested in the fans and the people that are having to pay crazy.
By the way, Trump is the only person I've ever heard call Kid Rock Bob, and he's done it a long time. He talks about they go golfing together. He calls him Bob, which I think is hilarious. Maybe people call him Bob, but the fact that he's calling him Bob in the Oval Office instead of Kid Rock is hilarious.
Prices than he is the artist. Maybe the artist a little bit, but the fans a lot. I've spoken to him over the years about it, and it's been it bothers him. It bothers a lot of other artists too. You see the artists, and they go out with $100 ticket and it sells for $2,000 the following night, and they seem to be able to sweep up the best locations too, which is pretty amazing. So
They've only enforced that Box Act one time, I believe.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, New York City, we got a $2 million fine. And that's the only time they've enforced that act.
and who's the primary culprit? Who sells these tickets?
It's the scalpers. It's these bots go in and they're automated. Well, there's reselling markets. Yeah.
I think I know, Peter. But that's all right. Don't get them involved. Maybe they're more innocent than we think.
Well, if you think of it, like if Ticketmaster sells a ticket, if you buy a ticket and go to a show, you're in a lot of ways their worst customer. Because they make another 17, whatever percentage every time that ticket resells. So they don't want to enforce the Bots Act necessarily because they're making more money off it. The artists don't see any of that money, but that's not what I'm advocating for, is for me to make more money. I want the fans to have fair ticket prices, be able to go and enjoy more shows. I know people that they decide on a family vacation or going to their favorite concert once a year rather than, my parents used to go see multiple shows when you could afford them back in their day. And I'd like to take my ticket prices lower, but if I set my ticket prices low, these bots immediately eat them up and they resell for hundreds of dollars more. And I'm just making these bad actors rich.
Well, I think this is a big step to getting it stopped. Do you have something, Brian?
Yeah, I do actually. I actually feel that the consumer is going to take the money that they've saved and actually buy merch, which you guys have a big percentage of, or do concessions, which you guys split with the venue on that as well. So I think their
We
money
don't
goes
share in
for it.
concessions a lot.
No?
We try to, but they don't want to share it in the beer prices and parking or any of that stuff. But the bottom line is there's money for everyone to be made. There's plenty of money to go around. No one's going to really lose here. Ticketmaster, if we can get a cap, they're going to lose some money. But I've already talked to the CEO, Michael, and he's given me his word. He's on board for it.
I was talking to Jacoby with Papa Roach earlier, and by the way, he's a big fan of what you're doing, President Trump, digging into this whole scalping and the bots. A lot of musicians, you could say that they're with Kid Rock, sir, on
I
this,
think so.
without a doubt.
A lot of people are.
So the other big part of the news today, I don't know if you guys saw this,
raising-
but Donald Trump apparently was like flirting with the idea of having a third term. And then, there's a constitutional amendment that supposedly says you can't have a third term, but now everybody's looking at it and saying, is it possible for the president of the United States to have 3 terms? Don't know. This is what legal scholars are saying. According to ABC News, which, by the way, has been totally against Donald Trump since day one. I don't know what they're about to say, but let's hear what they say.
Concerns after President Trump said he's considering.
Well, first, let me ask you this. Put a 1 in the chat if you think, you know what? I'd do a third term for Donald Trump if it was today, and put a 2 in the chat if you're like, nah, 2 terms is enough. Let JD Vance have a shot at it.
Considering a third term. The 22nd Amendment explicitly limits a president to 2 elected terms or 10 years, saying, quote, no person shall be elected to the office of the president more than twice and no person who has held the office of president or acted as president for more than 2 years of a term to which some other person was elected president shall be elected to the office of the president more than once. For more on that, let's bring in ABC contributor Kim Whaley, legal expert and professor at the University of Baltimore Law School. So, Kim, that was a lot of words that I just read, but break this down. Is there any wiggle room in here, in the language you see in the Constitution, for President Trump to seek a third term?
Well, Diane, there's always wiggle room for creative lawyers. And I think the argument is that the word elected to 2 terms maximum means literally elected, not served. So the argument he's saying is that he can serve more than 2 terms, so long as he's not elected at the top of the ticket. For example, if he is elected as a vice president, J.D. Vance as president could resign and he could move to the position of president. That's not being elected. The problem with that is the 12th Amendment says specifically that if someone's ineligible to be president, they cannot be a vice president. But at the end of the day, this doesn't really hinge on what the Constitution says. It's more on, if the Republican Party decides to put him on the ballot on a state by state basis, who's going to stop that process? There's no mechanism. If Donald Trump is willing to push the boundaries of the Constitution, the Republican Party doesn't come in and stop him. I think this is not.
I mean, that would be pretty crazy. A lot of you guys are putting in the chat, yes, 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 you'd vote a third term for Donald Trump. Hey, Cat Joy, how are you? Amy Heights, Cat Joy, thank you so much for that. At the end of the day, guys, it boils down to this. I don't personally think he should have a third term. I don't know why he's saying that he's going to. I don't think he's planning on having a third term. I think he's kind of looking around and seeing who potentially could be his successor. And people have asked him, is J.D. Vance your successor? I think it's probably too soon, to say J.D. Vance is his successor. He was asked and he's like, I can't say that. Elon Musk can't be president. He's not even an American citizen. So when you look at the options, J.D. Vance is at the top of the list. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like a J.D. Vance and Donald Trump Jr. ticket to usher in the new era. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio ticket. A lot of times the Secretary of State is vice president. I mean, it's pretty often that we see somebody that is Secretary of State run for president. It's less often that we see somebody that's in the House of Representatives as the Speaker of the House run. We've seen it once with Paul Ryan, I suppose, hop on the ticket, and with Mitt Romney. It didn't work out. And has anybody even heard from Paul Ryan since 2016 when he ended his run, or 2018, I guess, when he ended his term as the Speaker of the House? I don't think so. Yeah, I would just say, from my perspective, I don't know what's going to happen. I personally would vote for him another time if they put him on. And I don't foresee it happening, though. I really am in a situation where, I don't actually think that would happen. I think J.D. Vance, if the election was today, there's a reason why J.D. Vance is the vice president. He's probably the one that I'd be voting for. You look at somebody like Vivek Ramaswamy, and Vivek Ramaswamy's running in Ohio for governor. He's obviously has some executive aspirations as well. I think he's kind of calculating. He's like, man, I'm probably 10 years out, just do the lay of the land right now. I also think Vivek Ramaswamy being a pretty solid Hindu is going to have issues capturing a lot of the conservative crowd, just because a vast majority of the people, not all, but let's say 60 to 70% of people that are conservative are actually Christian. And so voting for somebody that doesn't profess that faith, that actually has a completely different faith, is totally different. So Rebecca says this, and I think it's probably so true. She said, there's a 10 out of 10 chance he's just ruffling feathers, and it is fun to watch. LOL. Isn't Rebecca, he the king of doing that? He sort of discombobulates with the 1-2 punch. Now, listen, guys, we have only about 5 more minutes left before we're done with the stream. I wanted to hop on tonight, share some thoughts about what's going on from a political perspective. The ticket scalping order that Trump signed today, I thought was fantastic. I think there are unfair ticket prices. They're, to me, kind of like the real big issue that we were seeing take place in the Oval Office was Bill Maher, Kid Rock asking Bill Maher to come along. Obviously, Donald Trump was floating that out there. I didn't see Bill Maher, but they maybe had a meeting at the White House. Maybe they filmed part of an episode for a show for Bill Maher on there. Maybe Bill Maher's apologizing for Trump derangement syndrome. I don't know what's going on with Bill Maher, but the fact that Dana White would potentially be a big part of it, I think is interesting as well. And so you guys tell me what you think, how you kind of got the lay of the land of all of this stuff. And overall, I'd like to know, are you satisfied with the current direction of our nation? Do you feel like we're headed in the right place? Do you feel like we're on the right track? Do you feel like things are looking up and not looking down? From my perspective, I'm excited about the United States of America. It feels like we have a pep in our step again. That being said, there's some international affairs that have caught my attention, that I have my eye on, particularly some things that are going on, in Europe that are worrisome. Particularly, there's some issues that I think need to be addressed from a few other perspectives that we're thinking about breaking alliances with. I don't know what's going on with Canada. Trump playing hardball, which I like. Because at the end of the day, Canada kind of relies on the United States, but we have a lot of people from Canada that watch the show. I'd like all the Canadians, I'd like your feedback on what you think is happening. I think Ukraine's incredibly corrupt. And so Donald Trump's probably in the right place to try to make some adjustments with that relationship. We're giving them hundreds of billions of dollars. They've lost $100 billion somewhere. And according to Tucker Carlson, it went right in the hands of the oligarchs so they can go to Switzerland and buy luxury goods for their families and buy Mercedes G-Wagons and whatever else. And that's a really dangerous thing that, for us to be wasting our tax dollars like that, especially when we have a $35 trillion deficit or whatever it is. And then there's the efforts of Doge that, are fighting back against, careless and wasteless spending all over. So as far as I'm concerned, there's a lot going on that's good and a lot going on that's creating tension. And sometimes tension's helping, other times it's not. Cat Joy, thank you so much for that membership of 22 months. All right. Anybody have anything else to say, or is that it? And if that's it, I just want to close tonight with a little prayer for everybody watching. It's your last chance as well to give. If you want to give through Super Sticker, Super Chat, this is your last chance for the evening. And let me pray for you. So, Father, I thank you for every single person that's on the stream watching right now. Lord, I know that there are people out there who are looking for hope. And Lord, I pray that they are looking for hope in all the right places, that they find it in you. And God, I pray for a supernatural peace to come over every single person watching. Anybody filled with anxiety, anybody filled with restlessness in their soul, Lord, I pray that they find rest in you. And so I bless every single person in Jesus' precious name. Amen, 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 amen. Cat Joy, just to celebrate, Cat, you are amazing. Thank you so much. And appreciate your encouragement as always, Amy Heights. Kenneth, thank you so much. I don't know if you guys have seen this. I have a couple of episodes that I've released over on my video page. If you go to Tyler Feller on YouTube, then you go to videos. This episode right here has gotten a lot of attention, a general supernatural encounter confronting evil in Afghanistan. I'm going to put a link to that in the chat. If you haven't watched that, it's about 9 minutes long. As soon as I end the stream, I would encourage you click that link and watch it. Let me know what you think. And we'll be back again, guys, very, very soon.